Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies. In today's video, I am very excited to be finally doing my updated ranking of every single Ninjago season ever, from 2011 to where we are now in 2024. We just had the launch of Season 2 Part 2 officially for Ninjago Dragons Rising, and it's been roughly 1 year since I've done my last ranking video. Within that year, I have done a Ninjago series rewatch from front to back, and I have updated my list accordingly. My opinions are fresh, with a lot of updated placements, and also, not to mention, we are adding Dragons Rising Season 2 officially. So we have a lot to talk about here, a lot of updates regarding my personal opinion, and with that being said, this is indeed my own opinion. Try not to be offended by my opinions, they are just opinions at the end of the day, and after the video is over, I encourage you guys to rank the seasons down below in the comment section. So without further ado, let's get things rolling here. This is my updated list of how I would rank the Ninjago seasons from worst to best. So first of all, in dead last, we still have Day of the Departed. Definitely not a full-on season, this is only a TV special, but still I'm counting it because it's my list, and this is still my least favorite thing in Ninjago history. I do not like Day of the Departed, and I have not liked Day of the Departed since it came out. The writing is extremely weak, the villain's motivations are laughable, the animation is subpar in some cases, and while I enjoyed that Cole actually had some spotlight for the first time in a while, this was absolutely not it. Not great at all, questionable, unrealistic dialogue, etc. Just not a good time. And during my rewatch, this was quite a chore to get through. Speaking of chores, next up on the list we have Season 11, aka Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu. This is my least favorite full-on Ninjago season for a lot of reasons. A lot of the storylines do not make sense or they go nowhere, like Nia trying to control ice. What was up with that? I also did not really care for any of the villains. We had Esfira, whose main motivation was revenge, and she made you know it the entire time. That's pretty much all she talked about. Kind of annoying there. And also General Vex. Not bad, but still weak compared to other villains out there. I did enjoy Zane as the Ice Emperor, and I do think the Ice chapter is stronger than the Fire chapter. But the Ice chapter, in comparison to other seasons out there, yeah, not even close. Not to mention the animation is extremely questionable. This was the first season to be animated by Wildbrain. It's hard to believe that this same studio animates Dragons Rising today, because this looks infinitely worse than Dragons Rising, with inferior texturing and lighting. I'm glad that Wildbrain finally found their footing. Unfortunately, Season 11 has many issues and is definitely the worst full-on season in my humble opinion. Next up, we have Prime Empire Season 12, the video game season. I give it points for its uniqueness, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. A lot of characters are one note or forgettable, like Okino, Racer 7, etc. I liked that Jay had more focus, but ultimately this season kind of serves as a retread of Skybound, which is a superior Jay season in my opinion. Again, the digital world of Prime Empire was awesome, but this was still early Wildbrain, so the animation was still a little bit rough here. Not to mention Unagami as a villain is pretty weak. I liked his redemption, if you want to call it that, but we've seen better villain redemptions in Ninjago. Prime Empire overall is one of the more forgettable seasons out there, and during the rewatch, we actually did skip quite a bit of this season just because it wasn't really all that engaging. Next up, we have The Island. The Island might be a season to some, might not be for others. Official sources are kind of mixed on it, you guys know the drill, but I consider The Island to be Season 14, so feel free to complain down below in the comments. I do welcome the engagement, but still, in terms of The Island, this season is extremely short, only being 4 episodes long, and each episode being around 11 minutes. Same runtime as Day of the Departed, but structured as an episodic event. This is also more or less a precursor to Seabound, and that's kind of what I like to treat it as. I liked the island setting, I love the ninja suits. These outfits are some of the best that the ninja have ever had, and I do stand by that. These outfits are incredible. But overall, the island itself, it's just way too short for its own good. If this were to be a more elaborate, expanded season, I feel like it would have been a lot better. It kind of just feels like, oh, here's an island, here are some keepers, we will see them next season, keep them in mind. Oh, by the way, here's Wajira, come back next season for a full story. It just did not really work. Very middle of the road. Speaking of middle of the road, next up we have season 7, Hands of Time. Now this season has a lot of things that I like and a lot of things that I don't like. This is a very mixed bag in my opinion, the most mid-season of mid-seasons. I love the Time Twins, I love everything with Kai, Nia, and their family. I do not really care for the Vermilion all that much. I did not find any of them engaging or threatening even. And again, if your name is not Kai or Nia, you hardly have anything to do in this season. There is a pretty cool mystery with Samurai X, but if you pay attention, it's all too predictable. I also do enjoy whenever history or more lore is established in Ninjago, and this season had a lot of that. Loved seeing all of the stuff with the Serpentine War, the Time Twins' betrayal, all that good stuff, and even the time travel itself wasn't too bad. It's just, again, a very mixed bag with weak writing, weak animation, and a pretty decent story, I suppose. Execution left a lot to be desired, though. Next up on the list, we have the pilot episodes. Now, these episodes I really enjoy. How can I not, right? This is where Ninjago started. It's nostalgic, it's an awesome thing to revisit every now and then, but compared to everything else that I'm about to mention, this is very weak by comparison. It's not bad, it's just kind of, middle of the road. It's a very good start for Ninjago. It's a very basic plot. We have very basic write-ups of these characters that future seasons would elaborate on. And there's not much that I don't like about the pilots, it's just that other things are better, and it's hard for me to put this above a lot of other awesome seasons that we have yet to talk about. So all things considered, the pilots are simply here, and they are really good still. Again, it's fun to revisit every now and then. Next up on the list, we have Ninjago Seabound. This one might be kind of low for some people, but again, just like the pilots, I do enjoy this season quite a bit. There are just many other seasons that I like more. I love that Nia finally got some focus after being neglected for quite a while. LEGO finally decided to give Nia her own season, and I gotta admit, the underwater stuff with Merlopia and Kalmar as a villain, all of that I love. An underwater season was my dream season for quite some time, and Seabound finally gave me what I wanted. Not to mention Wajira is threatening and awesome. Love Wajira, but we do have some characters, for example Kai and Cole, that ultimately do nothing the entire season, and there are some weaker episodes that I did skip during my rewatch, but Seabound does have a fantastic finale and a very emotional send-off for Nia, so I gotta give credit where credit's due. Ultimately though, like I said, I do still prefer other seasons over Seabound. Next up, we have Season 1, aka Rise of the Snakes. This is also a very nostalgic season for me, but I do recognize that it does have some issues. Again, like the pilots, this was a very basic setup season. Future seasons would elaborate on these characters more and give them more to do. Season 1 was just supposed to introduce everyone and expand on them more after the pilots. In terms of the Serpentine, I mean, unless your name is Pythor or Scales, I really don't care about you all that much, except for Baitar. Baitar is cool, he can stay. And obviously all of the stuff with the Great Devourer towards the very end of the season is insanely epic. I love everything going on in the final couple of episodes. But the whole thing regarding this season is the mystery of the Green Ninja. That was all over the marketing way back in the day for this season, and I do think that storyline is engaging. Again, this is just a case of the episodes not being as strong as they could be, and me enjoying other seasons more than Season 1. Next, we have Ninjago Hunted. Again, this one might be kind of a controversial choice, but Season 9 is my least favorite aspect of the entire Oni trilogy for one main reason, that reason being Dareth. In every other season of Ninjago, I find Dareth to be insufferable, but he is in every episode of Hunted, and in every episode of Hunted, he does or says something that makes me irritated. I did not enjoy his his whole thing with the brown power. I thought those jokes were really bottom of the barrel, not necessarily Ninjago humor, at least not at the time. And following a super dark and tragic season with Sons of Garmadon, this kind of felt like a step back. With that being said, Hunted does have a lot of awesome moments. The finale is beautiful. The ninja exploring the first realm with a young Master Wu is awesome, despite some of the plot not really making sense. And the resistance in Ninjago fighting Harumi and Garmadon, I loved all of that. It's just a shame that Hunted is consistently dragged down by a super annoying side character and some annoying side plots that do not need to be there. It felt like they were just there because the season was requested to be made lighter by someone higher up. Next, just barely missing the top 10, we have Season 2, Legacy of the Green Ninja. This is another season that, like Ninjago Hunted, is dragged down by a lot of really weak humor, and in the case of Season 2, a lot of annoying filler episodes. I do not care for a lot of the episodes in the first half of this season, which is unfortunate because, again, the final battle arc, the second half of Season 2, is my favorite Ninjago arc ever. I love the build-up with Lloyd becoming the Golden Ninja. The Temple of Light is one of my favorite locations in Ninjago history, and the Overlord, the Dark Island. I love all of that. I just don't like, hey, let's have the ninja fight pirates. Oh, this week they're fighting doubles of themselves. Next week they will be in a race. It's very Saturday morning cartoon, but it's very obvious that with these early filler episodes, they are just padding out time to get to the final battle stuff. With that being said, I do not think that every filler episode is bad. I really enjoy Child's Play and Wrong Place, Wrong Time, but those first four, no, they just do not do it for me at all. The final battle stuff is still incredible though. Now, moving into the top 10, into a very controversial choice, I'm sure, as if we did not have enough of those already, we have Ninjago Crystallized in my top 10. Yes, I am one of the Ninjago fans that thinks that Crystallized is perfectly fine. Does it have some issues? Of course it does. Does it have a lot of positives? I would say so. I feel like overall folks are way too hard on this season. I know that it might have been a disappointing finale for some, but some people treat it as the worst Ninjago season ever, and looking at some of the seasons that we just listed, this is not as bad as any of them. We have a lot of awesome villains returning, including Harumi and the Overlord. I'm also a big fan of the Overlord. Might be a controversial opinion too, but I think the Overlord is a good villain. And in this season, he brings a lot of what I liked about him in previous seasons. He's dark, he's mysterious, he's ruthless, he's vengeful. I love all of that in a villain, and the Overlord, in my opinion, is a very good Ninjago villain. Again, Crystallized is a very long season, and some of the episodes do suffer as a result of being in this packed, super long season. I feel like maybe the entire season could have been condensed and some stuff could have been cut out. And again, not everything about the storyline is perfect. I feel like Nia came back way too quickly after Seabound, for example, and all of the stuff with Oni Lloyd is just kind of unforgivable. But the battles, the character moments, a lot of that I enjoy about this season, and as a finale to Masters of Spinjitzu, Crystallized was a good finale, I'd say. Not perfect, could have been better, but ultimately just fine. Next up, in the number 9 spot, we have Season 6, aka Skybound. Now, Skybound I enjoy quite a bit as well. The ending at first kind of threw me off, and the ending is the reason why a lot of people do not like this season, where essentially the entire season was just kind of erased from existence, but it's not like it did not happen. You know, Skybound still happened, and Jay and Nia still remember it, so I feel like that is something to consider and give credit to. By the way, speaking of Jay and Nia, this season did them extremely well. This is the Jay and Nia season, where they finally rekindle their relationship after being kind of in a rough patch there for a while, for a couple of seasons. And this truly is their storyline. This season is technically a Jay season, and I felt like him as a main character, he did a really good job. He's still not like a perfect protagonist, but for the season itself is a lot better than something like Prime Empire, for example. Also, Nadakon as a villain, it's always good when you have a villain that can easily defeat the heroes, and Nadakon was one of the first ones to do that, picking off the ninja one at a time until ultimately Jay was left. Overall, Skybound is pretty good, despite being controversial in the Ninjago fandom for various reasons, and there are some problems with this season, but overall, I thought it was fun. Pretty good time. In the number 8 spot, we have Season 3, Rebooted. This is another season that people in the Ninjago fandom, especially nowadays, do not seem to like all that much, and even back in the day, this season was kind of controversial, given the whole aspect of the love triangle between Jay, Nia, and Cole, which people have gone on and on and on about. I get it, it's cringy, whatever. I thought it was at least somewhat engaging, and it developed a pretty interesting storyline at the very least. Sure, it really did not make that much sense, but it's not the worst thing ever, in my opinion. There are more offensive Ninjago storylines in other seasons that we've already talked about, but the main draw of Season 3 to me was all of the stuff involving Zane, the Overlord, and the Nindroid army. What a fantastic lineup of heroes and villains here. Also, the plot I love, Ninjago in a technological age, and following the final battle, I think this was a very, very strong follow-up. In fact, the season premiere for Season 3 is one of the strongest premieres ever, in my opinion, with the first 2 episodes doing a great job at setting the stage and building up that suspense, not to mention the final episode with Zane's sacrifice. That still gets me to this day. I cried during my rewatch, and this season came out like 10 years ago, mind you. It still gets me every time. Overall, Rebooted is and always has been very underrated in my opinion. My thoughts have not changed. Next up, in the number 7 spot, we have Season 10, March of the Oni. Another short season that probably could have benefited from being longer, but still, I think March of the Oni, like Rebooted, is extremely underrated, especially when you watch March of the Oni as a movie instead of a 4-episode season. As a movie, this concludes the Oni trilogy rather well, I'd say, featuring Garmadon teaming up with the ninja to take on the Oni leader, and I love Garmadon in this season. He's funny, he's witty, he reminds me a lot of his Ninjago movie counterpart, which I really enjoy as well, so I thought that was great. And every ninja has something to do here. Sure, not every ninja gets equal attention, and the whole thing with Cole's death, heavy quotations around the word death, that was kind of, whatever, but overall, I do really enjoy March of the Oni. As a nice little cap on the Oni trilogy, it was a good conclusion. What can I say? Next up, number 6, we have Ninjago Dragons Rising Season 1. A very different season to what Crystallized was. Where Crystallized might have ended a lot weaker than it should have, Dragons Rising Season 1 picks things up, and picks things up quickly. The ninja are missing following the merge, where every single realm collides with each other. It's a very, very great new world with a lot of intriguing characters, a lot of intriguing settings. Just overall, Dragons Rising Season 1 introduces us to this new world and welcomes us with open arms. I thoroughly enjoy the tone, the atmosphere, everything about Dragons Rising Season 1. Sure, some classic ninja do not appear for a while, but the new characters are amazing. I love Aaron, I love Sora, I love Wildfire. There's not a bad one in that selection. And with Lloyd taking on the role of Master following Master Wu's disappearance, it's a good place for him to evolve as well. Not to mention other characters like Lord Ras, who is still one of Ninjago's better recent villains in my opinion. Overall, Dragons Rising gave Ninjago a fresh coat of paint that it desperately needed following Crystallized, and I am very happy with the new direction that Ninjago Dragons Rising gave to the Ninjago franchise. Next up, moving into top 5, we have Ninjago Dragons Rising Season 2. Now this season, I have some thoughts on. If you guys have been around for a while and have been watching my Season 2 Part 2 coverage, you know what's up, but Dragons Rising Season 2 Part 1 takes a lot of what I loved about Dragons Rising Season 1 and expands on it even more, giving us an amazing storyline with some amazing history and some excellent new characters. We have Egalt, we have Cinder, and the concept of the Forbidden Five with the Blood Moon. It just creates a storyline that is so amazing to watch and a story that you want to follow, which is why in Season 2 Part 2, when things kind of get reset and a lot of the stuff from Season 2 Part 1 no longer really mattered, that was kind of disappointing, and it's one of the only reasons why this season is not higher on the list. With that being said though, Season 2 Part 2 is not bad, and compared to a lot of other Ninjago content out there, it is still a very good chapter of storytelling. My main issue with Season 2 Part 2 is, again, the mystery aspect, where they feel the need to make every single plot point some type of intriguing mystery. A lot of it doesn't really work, and also it doesn't really follow what Season 2 Part 1 set up. but as a collective season, Season 2 Part 1 and Season 2 Part 2, it is still a very strong season for Ninjago, with Season 2 Part 1, in my opinion, being one of the strongest pieces of Ninjago content that we've received in years. Moving on to the number 4 spot, we have Ninjago Season 13, Master of the Mountain. Now, this season was my third favorite for the longest time, but following my rewatch, I could not place it above my number 3 entry any longer. Master of the Mountain is still a very, very good and emotional season. I loved watching this season when it came out, and I also loved watching it during my rewatch. However, some episodes really felt tacked on, almost as if the season itself was, again, too long. Not every episode of this season is a good episode, and not every storyline is a good storyline. I am not a huge fan of the Geckles or the Months, the Geckles more so, but this season is all about Cole, his history, his family, his mother, and again, this season is just packed full of emotion, ultimately leading to one of Ninjago's strongest finales in my opinion, when Cole takes on the Skull Sorcerer in the dungeons of Shintaro. What an epic series of events. What an amazing season to sit through. Master of the Mountain is not without its hiccups, but Cole is my favorite ninja, and after this season came out, Cole was solidified as my favorite ninja, probably until the end of Ninjago. In third place now, moving on to the top 3, we have Ninjago Season 5, Possession. Yeah, so for a while there, Possession was my 4th favorite, and Master of the Mountain was my 3rd favorite. But after my recent Ninjago rewatch, Possession is a lot better than Master of the Mountain, at least in terms of my own opinion. I love Possession. This was a very strong follow-up to Season 4 and some of the stuff that was hinted at during that season, including Moro, who is an excellent villain. I know a lot of people don't like Moro because he's popular or whatever, but come on, he is such a good villain, having a lot of history with Master Wu and being rather emotional in his motivation. Not to mention, the scope and scale of this season, again, takes a lot of what I loved about Season 4 and builds it up immensely. We have different realms being explored here, different worlds, an entire world focused on ghosts, and that world attacking Ninjago in a 2-part finale. What's not to love about that? It's amazing. Not to mention, we have some awesome character moments, especially with Kai and Nia becoming the water ninja. Finally, Nia gets some attention here. Sure, Seabound might have gone all out, but Possession was the start of that. Overall, great season, hardly anything negative to report. In second place, to the surprise of probably no one, we have Ninjago Season 8, Sons of Garmadon. Yeah, this season is next level. At the time, I know things were kind of controversial because, oh no, the ninjas' designs have changed, whatever will we do? Well, for a lot of characters, unless your name is Jay, it works extremely well. And this looks like an older version of the ninja team that we recognized from the previous 7 seasons. But what I love most about Sons of Garmadon is its maturity. At this point, I was a young adult watching Ninjago, and I felt like the series was aging with me. I know people get annoyed when you say that Sons of Garmadon is dark, but come on, Sons of Garmadon is dark. It's a lot more violent, a lot less comedic. The ninja feel older, Ninjago City feels older, the ninja feel like they have more to lose here, and there are a lot of awesome character moments between the ninja and the villains. Harumi, amazing villain, love her. Garmadon coming back, he had more to do in other entries of the Oni trilogy, but still, he was a pretty intimidating threat during this season, especially during his battle with Lloyd. Not to mention the epic cliffhanger that the season leaves us on, and all of the history established with the Oni, dragons, everything from that sort. I could go on and on about how much I love Sons of Garmadon, and stupid controversies aside, this season is still peak Ninjago. Ever since its debut, it has been extremely close to surpassing my number 1 choice, but it never truly has. And of course, my number 1 pick is still Season 4, the Tournament of Elements. I have gone on for years and years regarding how much I love Season 4, and it's hard to believe that this season is almost 10 years old at this point. That's wild. But Season 4, for a long time, defined what Ninjago was for me. The ninja facing an uphill battle against a mysterious enemy that they know nothing about while trying to save people that they care about, in addition to some awesome history and some amazing lore being established. Season 4 has everything. It has the Elemental Masters, it has Skylar, it has the Serpentine War. It expanded Ninjago beyond what was possible at the time, and sure, Rebooted was of course Ninjago's continuation following its initial cancellation, but the Tournament of Elements took that continuation and expanded on that even further, creating Ninjago's world even beyond what we initially thought that it was. Season 4 introduced a lot of concepts that are still relevant in Ninjago today, not to mention, again, amazing villains like Master Chen and Klaus, and the Tournament of Elements itself. While I do think the Tournament of the Sources from Dragon's Rising Season 2 was the better tournament arc, this tournament is still amazing and introduced us to a lot of awesome characters that I still love to this day. All things considered, the Tournament of Elements is simply unbeatable. Sons of Garmadon came close, and nothing else has really come close aside from that, so all things considered, Season 4 probably will still be my favorite Ninjago season for a very long time, if not until Ninjago is over. And with that being said, guys, that'll pretty much wrap it up for my thoughts here. That has been my updated ranking of every single Ninjago season ever, from worst to best. I love this show. So with that being said, now that this video is over, feel free to leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. If you would like, feel free to rank every season from worst to best according to your own opinion down below, or if you would just like to list your favorite seasons, least favorite seasons, that's fine too. At the end of the day, I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed this one, feel free to like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys again very, very soon. Peace.